Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. I'm your host, Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me are my co-hosts, Andrew, Daniel, David, and Seamus over there on the left side. We got Andrew over there on the right. Down below, Daniel and David, obviously. You guys know them. Vibes are still down because of Tatum. Watching the game last night, I'm gonna say this for me. It wasn't the same because I know the status of Tatum. If it were just Tatum's out like against the Magic series, I'm fine. Like I'm like, all right, hopes are high. We could still come back. We got this. But it was just different. I don't know about you guys, but when watching the game, it was different for me. But you guys know the drill. We'll do initial thoughts. I'll give you mine after. Andrew, initial thoughts after last night's win, and what were the vibes like for you? And I want to hear what do you think about Tatum's injury because you weren't on the podcast with us. So, what are your thoughts all in that bunch?
I mean, I think the vibes for me, honestly, were like they were high. Like I was fired up to see the energy that they were bringing, despite Tatum's injury. It just felt like they were rallying behind him and really had this extra, extra toughness that we haven't seen all series. Me and Seamus talked about it. It's like for some reason the Celtics team needs to be underdog, needs to have the world against them to feel like they have something to kind of fight, and then that leads to winning basketball. I think, like I said yesterday, just the ability to control the ball. We had limited turnovers yesterday. We moved the ball well. We had a lot of extra passes. We got everyone involved. The shot selection and the shot attempts were pretty even throughout our entire lineup. So that just helps us offensively not feel stagnant, gives us more rhythm, allows us to play within our offense, and gives every guy a chance to kind of heat up. And when we have that, it just feels like our percentages really, really increase. So I'm happy with that, and I think there's a lot of potential, and I think we have a great chance to, if we can, replicate that and use that to our advantage come Friday tomorrow. I think we have a good chance to continue this streak. Tatum's injury horrible, and you can talk about when's he gonna come back, or is this gonna really debilitate him and kind of impact his play style and all that. Yeah, sure. But I just want to say, I don't know if you guys talked on the Celtics Nation Rise podcast, but Tatum is a hell of a player. He's given everything that he has to the organization. He, for the NBA, he is a stand-up guy. Stephen A. Smith talked about it. He's nothing off the court. He doesn't do anything wrong off the court. He does what he does. He represents the NBA in a positive manner, and he's just a talented basketball player. So I know there's a lot of haters that kind of nitpick him and say things like, "Oh, he doesn't have this," or he doesn't like all these little things. But when it comes down to it, he's a good basketball player, stand-up guy who loves the game, and I think everyone should appreciate him and be thankful that we have someone that puts basketball at such a high place and shows the world what a great sport it is. So I feel bad for Tatum. No one deserves to go through that type of injury, and I'm just praying that it's a speedy recovery and that he handles it with strength, and he doesn't let it impact him too much. So, and he comes out better because of it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Daniel, before you go, I'm so dumb because I didn't come prepared. I thought about it last night too. I was gonna make a post and I was gonna add these quotes here. But yeah, I didn't think about that last night as I don't know. But I have a couple quotes here from Tatum. So I didn't know who I was watching, but he said to his dad after the injury when he called him, he said, "Why me, dad? Why me? Why does this have to happen to me?" And that breaks my heart to hear because he's obviously hurt by it and it sucks. And then the second one he had last night to Reggie Miller, I think you guys saw that too on the broadcast, was I'm devastated, but this injury will not define me. And I can't wait to get back in Celtics green to show you why. That's so positive, and I look at that and that makes me happy. I do gotta say that really makes me happy. But Daniel, I wanna hear your thoughts.
On what? Just the game, Tatum's injury, just everything in general.
Yeah, all of that.
Okay. In terms of the game, I said it last night. I think it was important because it established to the entire league and to the Knicks that even though Tatum is our star player, he's our best player. Um, we are still that aggressive team. We're still that dominant team without him. And I think we needed a no Tatum win to really show the world once again that we have other players that can put in the work when Tatum isn't healthy or isn't playing. And I think this win was important because it showed us who is that second piece, who's that second star besides Tatum, who can put in the work when Tatum isn't available. And I think Derek White answered that question, and also Jaylen Brown also answered that question. I think Derek White did an amazing job. I said this too last night. I think he did an amazing job of filling in Tatum's shoe. We made White the main handler of the ball. We made him the main priority in terms of scoring, and he delivered. Um, I think it's going to be interesting how the rest of these series plays out. Obviously, no Tatum, and we're just going to have to be able to adjust and figure out how to get these wins without him. But we're starting off on a good step after that win last night. Massive third quarter, 3-point shooting was amazing. Once again, as always, I think Pritchard. Also, we saw a little bit of spark in him. I think he went 6 for 16, but those 6 threes that he hit were massive, especially coming up late in the game and getting that lead up. Tatum injury wise, um, repeating what everybody else just said, every Celtics fan is going to agree with me on this. It's devastating, and um, I want to bring up Kobe because he had a similar injury. He also tore his Achilles tendon, and hopefully this is what happens with Tatum too, because Kobe came back like impressively fast. Like he came back earlier than he was supposed to. I think it says here. Let me see if I can pull it up. It says he got injured in April 2020, 2013, April 12th, and he came back December of that same year. So it was about a 6 to 8 month recovery period. Hopefully it's that same window for Tatum, and it doesn't become something that cuts him off for half of the next season or most of the next season. Because I'm really excited to see him back on the court. Something else I wanted to mention is I think it's going to be interesting when Tatum comes back because there's going to be a completely different team on the court with what's going to happen to us in the off season. So when Tatum comes back, he's potentially going to have some new teammates, and some new guys to lead. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what team Tatum comes back to. But game wise, I'm excited for game 6 in the Garden. The Garden. But yeah, I think if if the Celtics do what they do, what they did game 5, I think we could see a game 7 at the real Garden, and I'm excited for us to win game 6 and for White, Brown, and everybody else to kind of fill in the roles. The last thing I want to say is I think we should start Cornette game 6.
Uh,
That's what I'm gonna leave with.
all right,
Um,
I'm pulling it up.
that's what I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
leave with.
Thank you, Seamus. I was looking for something like Luke. Daniel, you keep going with this. I don't see the difference. That's Luke Cornett right there.
But yeah, we obviously saw his impact in Game 5, and because of what's going on with Porzingis, that virus he's got going on, I think he's not one of our most impactful players right now, and we need someone with impact. We can't have our starting center going like 0 for 4, 0 for 5 to start the game. And I'm not saying this to throw shade on Porzingis. Obviously, he's dealing with something. This is not how we usually plays. But I think because it's the Knicks, because it's a must-win game, I think we start Cornette.
Yeah. No, I 100%. I like that take. I think we need to throw it up again. That right there, that's Luke Cornette if I've ever seen Luke Cornette. I mean, that was Luke Cornette last night. I mean, he was an animal last night. I mean, were we all watching the same game? Because I saw a goat right there. That's who I saw last night. I don't know about you guys, but David, your initial thoughts about last night's game and how did you feel with the absence of Tatum? Did it feel a little weird, or just knowing that he's out now? Like, we're not going to have him next season.
So this question is funny in the sense that when I was watching the game at Buffalo Wild Wings with my friend, he said, when's Tatum going to check in? He's like, and he stopped himself halfway through saying Tatum. And he's like, oh my God, like this is so weird because obviously we haven't seen Celtics basketball without Tatum since the spring of 2017. So very, very weird not seeing him on the court. And obviously that's something we're going to have to get used to for the foreseeable future. But I just really, really love how the guys came out last night. Just team basketball, like rallying around your guy that got hurt, playing team basketball. There wasn't a ton of isolation, I felt like. It was moving the ball around. I mean, my favorite part of the Celtics is when they pass the ball around, and we had 27 assists last night. Went to the paint, got 36 points there. I mean, we talked about yesterday, I think, on the podcast, where this is a big moment for Jaylen Brown. Whether I wrote about this, whether or not it was a legacy game for him is not for me to decide. I don't know if you can call game 5 of the series when, you know, his sidekick partner in crime is out as a legacy game. But point being, maybe you could call it an audition for Jaylen Brown last night as to how it's going to look for the Celtics the next few months with him being the primary option. And I mean, he answered the call. He had, I think, 26 or 28 points. He had a playoff career high, 12 assists, 8 rebounds to go with that. He was flirting with the triple-double, and that's exactly what we needed out of Jaylen Brown. I thought this was an incredible JB game last night. Everything good came from him driving to the paint, whether it was him, you know, driving to the paint with authority, which I think that's his calling. I think that's what he does best. There's a play I'm rewatching the game. I started rewatching the game this morning. There's a play in the first quarter where he drove to the paint, then pivoted, found Derek White open for a 3. So everything good happened from when Jaylen Brown was crashing the paint last night. Really, really love what we saw from him last night. And then obviously it's been said a ton of times since post-game where Luke Cornette was incredible. He flirted with the triple-double, points, rebounds, and blocks. And I think in that third quarter, he had 5 blocks alone, which was insane. So, you know, is it bittersweet that it took this long for Missoula to figure out that Cornette's kind of like this secret weapon in this series? Absolutely, because we're down 3-1, now 3-2. And had we, you know, utilized our secret weapon, if you will, earlier in the series, it's probably looking different. But just an all-around good win. We don't know what the future holds for Friday, but if anything, I'm glad that we're playing spoiler a little bit, you know, making the Knicks work for it, giving them a little bit of rest if they move on. But yeah, just a great win. And Jaylen Brown shouted out the crowd, and I'll shout out the crowd last night. You could hear how loud they were, and we really needed it. And yeah, just an all-around good game. And I mean, a good game for the haters too that say we shoot too many threes. I mean, we shot 49 threes and made 22 of them, but we also went to the paint, outscored the New York Knicks in the paint by 10, and shot 35 2-pointers. So just an all-around balanced effort. Defensive intensity was back, and yeah, we just got to try and do it again on Friday.
Yeah, I 100%. What about you, Seamus, though? How did you feel after last night's win?
Well, I feel like this series is a bit interesting now because obviously when you're down 3-1 and you lose Jayson Tatum, everybody's thinking, well, the Boston Celtics, they're done. They're absolutely done. They're down. They just lost a must-win game at MSG. They just lost their tier 1, tier A superstar at the top of their roster, their main ball handler, their main offensive initiator. And everybody counted out the Celtics. However, now the pressure in this series has gone from being on the Celtics to now being on the Knicks. The Knicks are feeling the pressure now. The Celtics have nothing to lose. The Celtics are simply playing for pride at this point in time. A lot of people have abandoned the thought of the Celtics winning back-to-back titles, and now is some of the thought is, can we just beat the Knicks? I feel like that would almost feel as good as the title in some ways this season for what's happened at this point in time. Would it be, the most ideal scenario? No, but it's a good consolation prize if the Knicks somehow fall to the Celtics and the Celtics are able to overcome the Knicks. But now the pressure is all on the Knicks because the Knicks up 3-1 in this series, no Jayson Tatum. I feel like game five was an embarrassing game for the New York Knicks. I feel like it was a game that probably shouldn't happen to a team that is ultra superior to what the Celtics are supposed to be right now. And that's where you just look at the series and go, well, everybody thinks, okay, well, Jayson Tatum goes out of the lineup and the Celtics are down 3-1, they're out. But they forget the Celtics are not just Jayson Tatum. The Celtics are also Jaylen Brown. They're also Derek White, Drew Holiday, Al Horford, Luke Cornett, as we saw come off the bench, Peyton Pritchard, and even Sam Hauser came back into the lineup. So the Celtics, they're much more than, and I should mention KP in that mix too, but let's just face it, he's just been a non-factor this series and maybe even a negative factor for the Celtics. But regardless, you have a lot of talented pieces on the Celtics, and the luxury of the Celtics is part of their depth. And the fact Jayson Tatum goes out of the lineup, you have Jaylen Brown sitting there playing nearly the same position as Jayson Tatum, ready to take over some of the same role. I mean, pretty well the exact same role as Jayson Tatum. And do I expect Jaylen Brown to do it as efficiently as Jayson Tatum? No, but can he do it at a high level, at an all-star level, at an all-NBA level? Certainly so, and we saw that begin last night with Jaylen Brown dishing out the ball 12 different times, 12 assists last night for buckets. And also, I mean, you look at the turnover number from Jaylen Brown last night, only 2 turnovers. So a 12-2 assist to turnover ratio for JB last night. And you could see the playmaking on display. And the Celtics, to me, have not lost too much in that category now that you consider Jaylen Brown is taking over that slot. It's just about, how can you slot in the production of where Jaylen Brown was playing beforehand. He's moving over from the 2 spot over to the 1 spot in terms of the importance within the rotation. Is, how do you make up that extra ground if you're the Celtics is part of the question. But ultimately, you're still working with it's part of the same system because Jaylen Brown is still there. It's not like the Memphis Grizzlies when they lose Ja Morant, they just don't have a main facilitating ball handler. Yeah, they give the ball to Desmond Bane and Scottie Pippen Jr., but just not the same as Ja Morant. The Celtics, on the other hand, they give the ball to Jaylen Brown, and he can play some of that point forward just like Jayson Tatum was for the entirety of this season. So the Celtics, I think right now, I mean, the pressure has been completely taken off the Celtics and applied on the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks, this is to lose that game by 25 points. I mean, that could be a bad sign for the New York Knicks knowing, okay, this was an elimination game. The Knicks should have closed. I mean, they had a chance to close out the Celtics last night at the TD Garden. And I understand the Celtics were working with a little bit of motivation, knowing, okay, we're working with pride here. The Knicks, we're not going to allow them to come into our home floor and win the series. And Jayson Tatum goes down, and it's always one way or the other. You see Jayson Tatum go down on the floor. It's either going to be the Celtics. The Celtics are playing with a higher motivation, or they're going to be playing with absolutely no motivation whatsoever. And you saw the result. They win by 25, and it was either going to be the Celtics win by 25 or lose by 25. There was going to be no in between last night, and thankfully it was the Celtics winning by 25. That's the scenario in which we saw play out in the end of the game. And that was really encouraging because the Celtics, despite this, just travesty of a series so far for all intents and purposes, despite how good the vibes can be right now, the Celtics have had championship moments in this series. I mean, game 3, they come out, they actually do their job, handle their business. Game 4 was just, I mean, that we've talked a lot about game 4, but game 4 was just a heartbreaker for so many reasons. The Tatum injury, just the fact the Celtics actually led for the majority of that game yet again. I mean, it was on par with games 1 and 2, where the Celtics not as big of a lead, but still 14-point lead. I mean, well, we like to talk about the 20-point leads, but hey, 14's a pretty good lead too in that third quarter, and the Celtics blow that one. And that's just a heartbreaking game to go down 3-1, especially losing Tatum. But then in game 5, the Celtics respond at home, and that shows some championship pedigree, no doubt. Obviously, the Celtics could have done themselves more favors to put themselves in a better position this series. But the two games in which they pulled out, I mean, backs were against the wall, both games, elimination game in game 5, and then both games were virtual elimination games. I mean, game 3, if you lose game 3, you're down 0-3, and that's just a different animal to try to come back from, say from like 3-1 we just saw after game 4. So the Celtics, I think right now, I mean, the Celtics are playing with house money. They're literally playing with house money. It's like it's gone from we're pursuing back-to-back titles to we're down 3-1 to the Knicks. We're going into game 5, and the when it's just about winning the next game. That's what it's about in the playoffs. No matter whether you're up in a series or you're down in a series, it's just about winning the next game. And right now, the Celtics have a tremendous opportunity to put themselves in just this crazy position of maybe winning this series if they go out and compete in game 6 the way they did in game 5, because they dominated the game in multiple facets last night. And obviously, just from an individual standpoint, White 34 points, Brown was spectacular. David was talking about it, a near triple double. Luke Cornett went absolutely crazy. But from a team aspect, I mean, the team out rebounded the Knicks last night, and they were able to create themselves extra opportunities on the offensive end of the floor. And they generally shot well. The Celtics shot well last night, which is always going to play a huge factor in the Celtics actually winning a game or not. Obviously, when they shoot 25% from 3, they struggle to win games. But last night, when you make 22 3-pointers out of 48, that's a lot better of a percentage in shooting line for the Celtics than what we saw in games 1 and 2. But just the Celtics, they won multiple categories last night, and you could see we were talking about it on the post game. They just flipped many categories towards themselves that we needed to see the Celtics actually flip in order to have a chance in this series. And of course, the biggest lead of the game, it was 28 points at late in that fourth quarter, but just the points in the paint battle. I mean, you saw the Knicks double up the Celtics in game 4. Last night, the Celtics, they won that points in the paint battle by 10, 36 to 26. And, there are just some numbers on the stat sheet that very, very much symbolize the Celtics wins. I mean, the Celtics win last night. Again, fast break points, mentioned this on the post game. He only held the Knicks to 4 fast break points. The Celtics, they didn't go crazy. They only had 9, but the fact they held the Knicks to 4. And the assist percentage and just the total amount of assists. I mean, 27 assists last night for the Celtics, and their assist percentage was, I believe, up near 61% last night. So yeah, they had 27 assists on 44 made attempts, and you could just see the increased ball movement by the Celtics last night. The collective effort was there, and yeah, to me, I think the Celtics. I mean, obviously they're in a very precarious hole here. That being said, the complexity of this series has changed. I mean, it went from the Celtics absolutely collapsing and not having any confidence and just blowing the series to, well, now the Celtics, they have no expectations of winning this series or winning the title or winning anything this year. Now they're playing with a little bit of house money. They're going, oh, we can just go out here and we can play. We can play freely because we're not expected to do anything. We're not playing tight. We're not playing scared anymore. And meanwhile, see the New York Knicks on the other side. They lose by 25. Their offense, I mean, the Celtics defense has been pretty, I mean, outside of game 4, it's been pretty good this series. And if the Celtics defense can keep that up and the Celtics offense can produce at the rate in which it did last night, from just a shooting perspective and a playmaking perspective from Jaylen Brown and Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, the Celtics can certainly, I mean, make some noise. Not only make some noise in this series, but the next 2 games, I mean, it's hard to win 3 straight games, but right now it's just one game at a time. I mean, game 6 is in front of the Celtics, and that's going to be a pressurized game for the Knicks. If they don't win at home, they have to go win a road game 7, which is historically not great for the road teams. And it's just all the pressure is on the Knicks and not the Celtics right now, and the complexity has changed. I mean, the pressure is on the Knicks to close out the series, go to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in over 30 years, and potentially even make the NBA Finals. I mean, that's where the conversations have gone for the New York Knicks. It's gone from essentially, it's gone from can we win the series to, oh, we might actually make the finals, to can they actually win game 6? Can they pull out this series? So it's kind of gone back and forth for the Knicks. And I just think, I mean, the vibes, I didn't expect the vibes to be this high after game 5, after we're seeing, like, we're after game 5, the Knicks are up 3-2. I would have never expected coming into this series a game 5. We come out of game 5, we're down 3-2, and we actually feel somewhat good about the position of the Celtics in this series right now. I'm not saying the Celtics, we're in a good position to necessarily win. And obviously the Celtics don't want to see that Jayson Tatum injury and the way that game 4 played out. However, I mean, for all of the circumstances meeting the Celtics, the Tatum injury and what happened in this series so far, 3-2 after game 5, after a 25-point home win. I mean, I I'm feeling a little good about the Celtics' chances in this series all of a sudden. I mean, I'm not over the moon about it. I'm not sitting here saying the Celtics are definitively going to win the series, but you got to think. I mean, the percent chance the Celtics pull this out. I mean, it's not an astronomical, improbability. It's actually possible the Celtics go ahead and win Game 6, and then all of a sudden Game 7. I mean, that's all bets off for any team in a Game 7. I mean, I understand, road teams, they struggle, but if Game 7s to me are kind of a 50-50 thing, it's who's going to show up in the biggest game of a season on either somebody's home floor or away floor. So Celtics are one game away from that, and I feel okay after game 5. I mean, I'm not, it doesn't feel like the NBA title last year, certainly, but that was just a gutty win for the Celtics in game 5. And I'm just I'm proud of the team. Ultimately, I'm proud of the team after game 5, because that could have gone the other way. After you lose Tatum, after you lose that heartbreaking game 4, that could have gone in the, oh, we're going to lose by 30 way, or we're going to lose by 25. And instead, the Celtics win by 25, and they just completely flipped the script in that second half where, I mean, the Celtics have just struggled in fourth quarters this entire series. They hadn't won a fourth quarter in the first 4 games, and they finally win that fourth quarter last night in game 5. They put the lead up at 28, and it feels more on par with what game 3 was, which was a collective unselfish effort by the Celtics at MSG. They sort of replicated that last night in a different way without Jayson Tatum at the real Garden, the TD Garden. But now going ahead in the series, I just think the Celtics, you got to feel a little, if you're a Celtics fan, you got to feel somewhat good about the chances in game 6 after what transpired in game 5. I think if it was a close game 5, or even obviously, I mean, if the Knicks win game 5, the series is over. But if it's a closer game 5, I think you're thinking, okay, well, the writing is still on the wall. But the fact the Celtics just came out and blew out the Knicks, I mean, that is not something good for the Knicks, because that's showing, all right, some of the Knicks wins in this series, they've been off of some variance opportunities, especially games 1 and 2, where they win by 3 points in game 1 and in overtime, and then in game 2 they win by 1 point at the end. And just feels like the Celtics, I mean, they've led for most of this series. I mean, they obviously lost 3 games, but they couldn't pull out the games, and they couldn't execute in the most important moments of these basketball games, particularly in the fourth quarter. But they've led all series, and there's data to show that they could lead for a majority of game 6 as well, and maybe if there's a game 7. So the Celtics are in a good spot right now. They're still in the hole, and a lot of people can say the writing is still on the wall, but ultimately, I mean, the vibes are pretty high after game 5 for all circumstances considered. I mean, I think we're already, I mean, that was a pretty good start to the era without Tatum. This little block without Tatum, potentially not playing all of next year. I mean, this is the first game without Tatum for the foreseeable future. It was a pretty good start for the Celtics, I would say. It was a fairly good start for the Celtics. Not only fairly good start, I mean, it was a tremendous start all around, and who knows what that can spark into the future, not only in this series but beyond this series, into the summer and even into the offseason. I mean, these games are still very much important for the Celtics, and I think people, kind of forgot that after Jayson Tatum went out of the lineup. The Celtics are still very much in this series and still very much have a chance.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And I like what you said, Seamus, on Celtics pride. I think easily you take this one game at a time. You focus on game 6 first. The Celtics need to win one game at a time. But it's just, you need the full team effort. And I think Daniel said it earlier too, where we've all talked about it, but is this Boston Celtics team is so special, not just because of Jayson Tatum. And you said it, Seamus. It's not like a Grizzlies team where Ja goes down and you guys are screwed. Tatum goes down, you have Jaylen Brown, you have Peyton Pritchard who could rise to the occasion. You have Derek White who's a menace with the ball as well. You have so many guys. You have Drew Holiday who we know can be a scorer. We saw him in his Milwaukee days. Obviously, he's had a lesser role with Boston, but he's still more than capable to score. We have a guy who's going to bring me into my next conversation with KP who should score, but there's a lot of concern with him. But I agree. I loved Jaylen Brown's effort, and Seamus put this in here, and I'm going to pull it up. Man, I said this in the post game last night, and you guys remember it because I was so impressed by that diving effort from Jaylen Brown. That's the heart and hustle you need on a team. I mean, look at him out there. Jayson Tatum just had that Superman commercial, and I think it should have went to Jaylen Brown or maybe a little duo action on there because he looks like Superman right there. I don't know, but I was so impressed with the effort from Jaylen Brown. And this is my say on last night and the absence without Tatum. I think it hurt me more. And it felt like, okay, Tatum's not even on the court. Tatum's at home watching this. Like Tatum's like me. Tatum's probably on the couch right now watching it like I am. And I think that's what hurt more. And I think that's what hurt in a sense that Tatum's not even on the court. Like Tatum's not even there. Tatum's not even in TD Garden right now. So that's the side of me that kind of hurt because I'm like, all right, this is the first time I never even seen Tatum in the atmosphere, you know? And from me being a Celtics fan, I've been used to seeing Tatum all the time. And we did it for Jayson Tatum. We did that. We got that win for Jayson Tatum. And that brings me into my next topic. And we'll start off with you, Andrew. But KP last night, I mean, in 12 minutes, only had 1 point. Hold on. 1 rebound, I believe. Let me go pull it up. Just a second. 1 second. Yeah. Last night only had 1 point, 1 rebound, and 1 block in 12 minutes. We've talked about this, that he's been dealing with this illness. And we've talked about this, but Seamus mentioned this too. He won 3 player spotlights in a row, and he won several Celtics Nation Rise MVPs on the recaps right after he came back from that illness. And I thought KP looked fine. You know, obviously in that Magic series, he was a stinker to say the least. And I think the same goes for this series. He has not been there. And this is what scares me in a sense. Do I believe the Celtics could still make a push for Banner 19 without Jayson Tatum? Absolutely, because it's not just Jayson Tatum on this team. You have a lot of stars. Yes, we haven't been used to playing in the absence of JT. And you look at this, JT is the guy on this team, so it's tough to play without him. But we have other scorers like KP, Brown, and Holiday, Pritchard, White. You know, we have other guys who could score the ball, but it needs to be a full team effort. And KP not stepping up to that occasion is kind of like, eh. So, Andrew, what are your thoughts with KP not performing to the expectation we want? And is there a level of concern going into game 6? Obviously, like Seamus said, it's not really, we have no pressure, and the pressure is on the Knicks. But if we want to extend this series to, you know, a game 6, to a game 7, if we want to get that win and face the Indiana Pacers, is this a concern to you? And is this a concern in the offseason too, to his trade value? Like, I mean, we might look to trade KP, and is this an issue if he's not performing? Do we get a good value? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm concerned about it for just from like what are we gonna do with him next game, you know, because he couldn't breathe at the halftime. He told Joe Mazzulla told the press that Porzingis told me I legitimately couldn't breathe, right? So it's like at this point we've had 3-4 games or a majority of this playoffs where Porzingis has not been full strength. He's not been producing at at what he's capable of. And it has to be a thought. It's like we're not getting out of Porzingis what we want, and we need to just right now give Cornette those minutes and just kind of step away from Porzingis right now because when it comes down to it, Porzingis gave us, and Seamus mentioned it, obviously, it's not direct correlation, but and also the run for the Celtics yesterday started kind of later in the game, but he was minus 12 in that game yesterday, right? So every time when he was on the court, he was negatively impacting the Celtics. And with a margin of error that the Celtics have right now, considering they don't have Tatum, you just can't really take a gamble right now with Porzingis in the lineup, I think, personally. It just there's too much variability with Porzingis right now where the team does not know if he's playing, if he's not playing. Oh, he's coming into the lineup. All right, now we got to switch up our game plan. There's a lack of trust. I talked about it yesterday. There's kind of a lack of trust with Porzingis right now. He's not producing. So sometimes they're probably not giving them the ball in positions that he typically would get the ball because they're like, man, I don't know what this guy's going to do. And it's not a discredit to Porzingis, but it's just human nature. Sometimes you're not going to give guys the ball in situations when you're trying to win a game and you don't have trust. And just in general, the entire year, we just didn't see Porzingis as much, right? So there's just there's less comfortability with Porzingis in the lineup right now that I see, and with the series on the line, you can't take that risk anymore. So I really hope Missoula kind of makes that decision and just decides to kind of maybe use Porzingis a little during the series, maybe use him just a couple minutes. I don't know, but I think right now we need to really just move on to Cornette and let Porzingis kind of recover.
Yeah. What about you, Daniel? Where are your thoughts?
Yeah. I didn't even think about this until you said it, Griff. I think the worse he plays, it's worse for us, especially if you're trying to get rid of him in the offseason because his value is obviously going down. This could potentially mean we don't get as much when it comes to trading him. So I think Missoula is in a bit of a conflict because the more you play him, he's become more of a liability. But at the same time, you want him to play more to get his value like higher, so that we can get more from that trade when we potentially do trade him. I think the 12 minutes he played was good. I wouldn't say he performed good. I'm saying minute wise, I think 12 minutes suits him very well. I think whether he does good or not, I think we just keep playing him those like 12 minutes or one quarter a game, to see if he eventually does get better. I don't think not playing him is the option because once again, if we're looking to get rid of him, we get so much less if he's just sitting in game 6 and 7 of the playoffs and not performing. Um, I think Missoula needs to have a talk with him if he hasn't already, and just I guess the virus. You guys know what virus it actually is? Because all I'm hearing is just he has a virus he's dealing with. But
We have no
that's
clue.
been part of the theme with this illness is it's a mysterious illness. Nobody has any idea what it is. Like that's just from the team and
Yeah.
KP. It's like, oh my God, it's like they're worrying us. I feel like they're like, oh, we don't know what it is. It could be anything. I'm like, I don't feel like it's the most severe thing in the world, but I'm also confused about I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's confused about what exactly it is, other than just a upper respiratory illness that's now lasted
Yeah.
2 months. 2 months
yeah,
apparently.
yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, I think it's crazy and like a little bit confusing. If this illness or virus is causing him to play this bad, then I think it needs to be like further investigated. I think it is a scare for Celtics fans when you see him play the way he's playing, with the condition that he has, whatever condition that may be. And I think, mm, honestly, I don't know what to think, but I think I agree with Griffin. We need to see more from him, and it's a team effort, and the team includes Porzingis, who needs to step up uh, without Tatum, and yeah, I think that's it. I think the 12 minutes we should be good. We should keep him on those 12 minutes, or I'd say between 10 and 15 minutes a game. I wouldn't say playing the whole game because once again he's a liability. And now Cornette has proven that we should trust him more. So since we have Cornette and Horford, we don't need to see much from KP, but just a little more than what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I agree 100%. David, what about you?
Yeah, so it's a really tough situation. We talked about it a lot on the episode yesterday, but I do unfortunately think that Porzingis is playing his way out of Boston. As for his playing time the rest of the series, I think he's going to get relegated back to the bench. I would not be surprised if Cornette takes his spot tomorrow in a double big lineup where it's Cornette and Horford in the starting five versus Porzingis and Horford, like we saw in Game 5. I don't really. It's just an anomaly. Like, if we want to go bigger picture and talk about Porzingis' whole tenure with this team, I just use that word as an anomaly where, like, things started off high. Like, I remember being so fired up opening night 2023 where he had 20 points and led us to a opening night win over the Knicks. And then that whole
30.
season.
30 that night.
Right. He had crazy opening night game. And that whole season, it was like, okay, he's staying healthy. And then it's like, oh, he is limping off the court against the Heat. Oh, wait, he's only going to miss a week. Or, oh, he gets hurt again. Okay, he's going to be out for 2 weeks. And it's the end of the season. Let's just rest in the last couple weeks or whatever. Then I'll be ready for playoffs. And it's like, oh, shoot, great. Now he's really limping off the court in Miami. Oh, wait, it's not season ending. He'll just miss the next couple rounds. And then he has the rarest foot injury of all time against the Mavericks in the finals. And it's like, oh, he comes back and plays in the clincher. But then, oh, maybe he shouldn't have done that because now he's going to miss the first half of the next season. And then this whole season has just been a nightmare with the injuries, with all due respect. It's just been in and out, in and out. We finally had a little bit of consistency in like January, February. And then, as it's been said, this whole mysterious illness came about him. And I actually thought he played bad in the Magic series, but the games he played well in, it was like self-inflicted. He just got into foul trouble and like we couldn't play him the whole second half. But like I forget what games it was against Orlando, but he was going off in the first half of a couple of those games. But it's just I don't know. I don't know how I would grade Porzingis' tenure because again, I do think that this is the end for him. And like I would personally be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him at all in Game 6. Like I'm talking DMP coach's decision. Maybe that's a hot take, but the playoffs for me, how I always look at it is it's not what have you done overall, but what have you done for me lately? And like I think Cornette answers the call with that. And I honestly think Cornette could take Porzingis' minutes completely, and we could just rock with Cornette and Horford in the backcourt. But yeah, it's just disappointing. A weird series for Porzingis. Obviously, hopefully we get some more clarity. Not that we're owed it, but hopefully we get some more clarity when the series is over about his mysterious illness. But you look at a series like this and think that this is a great matchup for him, being able to stretch the floor, get those mismatches in the paint against the likes of a Brunson or a Hart. But again, like I'm just going through my rewatch today, and that first quarter, he was just terrible. Like he missed an easy layup, I think, over Brunson in the first quarter. He tried to play defense by kicking the ball to try and stop Cat from grabbing the ball. He got stripped by Anunoby in the post, and then he took a couple awful shots, like step back threes. So, yeah, I personally would not. It's all concerning for me, absolutely, to answer that part of the question. But it would shock me if we're seeing any Porzingis in Game 6, to be honest. And maybe that's a hot take, but that's just how I feel at this point.
I agree 100%, though. I 100%. But Seamus, what about you?
Well, there are a couple of interesting angles when it comes to this Kristaps Porzingis situation, and it's also in tangent with Luke Cornette and his minutes in the lineup right now within the Celtics rotation in this series. Because, first of all, I just want to point this out. Luke Cornette, we're all very quick to say, okay, Luke Cornette should start Game 6 and receive the bulk of the minutes at the big man position in Game 6, or at least, one of the you're playing Al Horford and Luke Cornette, so you're splitting minutes there. But double big lineup or single big lineup, you're giving basically Porzingis' minutes to Luke Cornett, but I'll say something about that. The other night, Luke Cornett, or I should say last night in Game 5. So Game 5, Luke Cornett obviously has a great showing in that second half, and particularly in that third quarter where he came up with 5 of his 7 blocks. 5 of his 7 blocks. 5 of the 7 Luke Cornett blocks in Game 5 came in the third quarter. And just looking at his minutes total, he played 25 total minutes, Luke Cornett did. 19 of those came in the second half, where the Celtics did, of course, run ahead with the lead. However, 6 only came in the first half. Only 6. So I do look at that and I go, well, ultimately, I feel like the Luke Cornett experience, or well, I don't want to say experiment because we've had Luke Cornett on court all season long, but the Luke Cornett experience, it's not necessarily a guarantee that Luke Cornett will come in and do the exact same thing in which he did last game, in Game 5, and make similar impacts in Game 6. As we transition all over the place here. But Luke Cornett, so game 5, he comes in 19 minutes in the second half, 6 minutes in the first half. There's only one quarter and really one half of basketball where Luke Cornett played phenomenally this series. I mean, he played 17 minutes in the first 2 games, and then ultimately moving ahead in the series. I mean, he was relegated in games 3 and 4, and in 5 he comes out and plays 25 minutes and gets that big run in the second half. But that from that standpoint, it's, can Luke Cornett sustain a high minutes total? If you start him in a game and play him for a majority of the first half, and say play Luke Cornett upwards of 30-35 minutes in a game, can Luke Cornett sustain that as a player out on the floor? I mean, I'm sure he can from a. I mean, that's, I get, I'm going to say, oh, I'm sure he can from a durability standpoint, a stamina standpoint, but you never know. I mean, Luke Cornett, he is in the best shape of his life. I'll say that from what we've seen this season, but it's always a question when you get to playoff basketball is, can players take on those extra minutes in bigger spots? Because if you're used to only playing 15-20 minutes a night, and then all of a sudden your minute total is ramped up to nearly 30, if not past 30, I mean, that's a little bit of a difference within the game of basketball. That we, instead of Luke Cornett coming up with 5 blocks in the third quarter, he came up with 5 blocks in that third quarter after playing 6 minutes in the first half. Well, imagine if he plays 20 minutes in the first half. Does that third quarter look a little bit different from Luke Cornett? Is he a little bit more gassed? And so, that's just a question for me, is how productive can Luke Cornett be with a higher minutes total in Game 5, especially after having himself, in Game 6, especially after having himself a nice Game 5. So ultimately, Luke Cornett, I just wonder. I just wonder if he's going to be able to produce at the same level. As for Kristaps Porzingis, first of all, another interesting aspect of this Kristaps Porzingis fiasco, if you want to call it that right now, was it a DMP in the second half, or was Kristaps not healthy? Do we even know that up to this point? I mean, when Kristaps didn't play that second half of Game 5, I'm wondering if it was he can't breathe, he's not healthy, or a straight DMP from Joe Mazzulla because of how awful he was in that first half, or if it was a combination of both. If he's not healthy, if he's not playing well, then just don't play him. I'm with David. I would not be shocked if in Game 6 we just didn't see Porzingis, because we are working, and Daniel mentioned it too, we're working within slim margins right now, to the point where you can't necessarily afford just to throw out Porzingis in certain stints. I believe Andrew said this as well. Is just you don't have the affordability to run through a bad Porzingis stretch. I mean, right now the Celtics are getting cooked with Porzingis out on the floor, and I understand. We went through some of the plus minuses last night. I understand plus minus. It's a group stat, and it can be misleading in areas. And obviously, the Celtics were able to run ahead of the Knicks in that second half last night, and that's the half where Kristaps Porzingis didn't play. But Porzingis, he was a -12, and the rest of the starting lineup was a -10 or above, or sorry, a +10 or above. and most guys were in the plus 20s last night out of the whole rotation. Uh, you know, canceling out the garbage time crew. Most of the entire rotation was a plus 20. Al Horford was a plus 11. I mean, he's the one outlier, but the other outlier is Kristaps Porzingis, and he's not even in the positives. He's in the negatives. He was a minus 12 on the floor, and I felt like we felt that last night when he was out there. It's just on the defensive end of the floor, it's not the same. They're targeting him. They're targeting Kristaps Porzingis. The Knicks are targeting Kristaps Porzingis on the defensive end of the floor. And then offensively, it's just he's not able to take care of mismatches. He's not able to finish around the rim. He's not able to hit his jumper right now. He's not able to get open for shots. And David, I agree with you. He's playing himself completely out of Boston right now. He's on an expiring $30 million contract next year. Teams can look at that and either eat that money or convince themselves, oh, 1 year Porzingis, a flyer on Porzingis, a versatile big guy. And, the same reasons the Celtics talked themselves into Porzingis 2 years ago, trading for KP in the 2023 offseason, trading away Smart. Initially, it was Brogdon, but then obviously it was Smart, Gallinari, Muscala, and some picks. But, the same reason the Celtics were able to talk themselves into Porzingis, there are other teams out there that could do the same and could eat his money for 1 year, the $30 million deal. But up to this point, the Celtics, and he's just not producing at that level for the Celtics, and particularly in the playoffs. I think the playoffs are a measuring stick for a lot of things that happen in the NBA, and a lot of narratives and stories and conversations are formed during the NBA playoffs. There's a lot of speculation in the regular season, but that's pretty much all it is in the regular season is speculation, speculation, speculation. In the playoffs, that speculation becomes reality one way or the other. It either turns into something good or it turns into something bad. And for Kristaps Porzingis, the last two playoff runs, last year, he gets a little bit of a pass. It's his first year as a Celtic. We don't have much data, and the Celtics, of course, are so good they go ahead and dominate and win the title without him, essentially. But he misses most of the playoffs last year, and yes, he's in games 1 and 5 or games 1, 2, and 5 of the finals, but he missed the majority of the playoffs. I mean, he was not there in the Eastern Conference Finals. He wasn't there in the Eastern Conference Semifinals. Two crucial series, and yet again this year, it's not the exact same story, but it's on the same level of just he's not available. Availability is your best ability, and if Kristaps Porzingis, if he's going to be a 50-50 guy, and the 50% of the time when he's actually out there, he's going to produce at the level in which he is right now, especially in the playoffs in the most crucial moment of the season. I can 100% see the Celtics looking at KP, his expiring money, his production, his availability, and going, "Look, we're gonna sell high here, and just I don't want to say cut our losses because I don't want to say it's a loss that we traded for KP at all because obviously the Celtics were able to win a championship last year, but I just don't see KP getting any more durable into his 30s as he's going into age 30 next year." 29 on to 30. I don't think Kristaps Porzingis, I don't think this gets any better for KP. And I think the Celtics 100% looking to cut some money off that luxury tax bill this summer, knowing Jayson Tatum's not playing next year. I could 100% see the Celtics trading away Kristaps Porzingis this summer for maybe a couple of smaller assets, smaller contracts. And it'll be interesting to see if the Celtics can actually get anything out of him, player production wise or pick wise, because Porzingis, I think I think Porzingis has done enough for his trade value. I don't think anything he's going to be able to do unless the only thing he can do right now, Porzingis, is increase his trade value. I don't think there's any there to me the only thing that would really decrease his trade value from here on out is getting like sustaining a catastrophic injury like Tatum's. That would be something that kills Kristaps Porzingis' trade value because up to this point, he's already put the data on the board this season. 42 games played. That's basically half the year. That's 42 out of 82. I mean, that's literally right on the halfway mark. One game over the halfway mark. 42 games played, 39 games missed. 40 games missed for Kristaps Porzingis and 42 played. But Kristaps Porzingis, he's already missed half the season. He's already missed part of this playoff run. He's already produced terribly in this playoff run. And I don't think playing him or not is going to affect his trade value in game 6. I mean, it's one of those things where if you look at it in the moment, you go, oh, is this going to affect? No, sometimes there's long term. There, like you look at the long term factors of certain players or teams in the NBA, sometimes the long-term data is just already there. I mean, right now, Kristaps Porzingis, again, he played half the season. David, you mentioned it, just up and down with injuries all year long. He missed the first 17 games of the season, and then the team treated him like Al Horford or Drew Holiday. They treated him like a 35-plus-year-old player this season with the way they would sit him down on back-to-backs and sit him down on certain occasions. And just outside of that, there were actual injury issues in which they sat him down for consecutive games. So Kristaps Porzingis, I mean, the data is already out there for the regular season, and then now the playoffs. I mean, a terrible series against the Magic, a full 5 games of terribleness from Kristaps Porzingis, and then in this series, it's been much of the same. And not only that, but his availability is all over the place. And he's playing 12 minutes, and he's playing a first half, and he's not playing the second half, and it just doesn't make any sense from my standpoint of why that's happening and why the Celtics insist on that happening, because he clearly, I mean, I did, the illness is so mysterious. I don't understand how a player can play 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 18 minutes, whatever it is that Porzingis is playing right now. He's typically playing under 20 minutes a game. I don't understand how he can play 20 minutes and not I don't understand. I don't understand the illness. Like, I don't understand how he can go out there and play intense playoff basketball for even 15 minutes, and oh well, he's just not able to play 20 or 25 minutes, and he's not able to produce at his normal rate. It just, the illness doesn't make any sense to me, and it doesn't make any sense how this illness hasn't gotten any better in the past week, 2 months. Like, I can't. It's mysterious. It's very mysterious, but it's oddly enough one of the things I will say saving Kristaps Porzingis' trade value a little bit this summer is you could advertise to other teams in the market when you go, well, Kristaps, he wasn't producing because he was not healthy this whole time, and it was just an illness. It wasn't a calf strain or an ankle impingement or a shoulder issue or whatever it was. It was just an illness. We'll get over it. That's a possibility the Celtics are faced with right now, is that illness covering up some of the production issues for Kristaps Porzingis when they try to go and move him this summer. But otherwise, I think just Porzingis, he's becoming the prime trade candidate for the Celtics this offseason because of the luxury tax implications among Kristaps Porzingis' availability and production on the floor with the Celtics. It's been, I look back, I've said this a million times. It's like the Robert Williams story. Robert Williams, amazing player with the Celtics. The backline help defense, the shot blocking ability, the athleticism from Robert Williams. I mean, it was all spectacular. But Brad Stevens, he saw the writing on the wall, and Robert Williams, he's only played 35 games since leaving the Celtics. 35 games with the Portland Trailblazers in 2 seasons. That's it for Robert Williams. And part of the problem with Robert Williams in Boston was just the fact he was never available consistently. I mean, in the NBA playoffs in 2022, that's when the Celtics really needed him. And he was only available half the time. And when he was available, he was either limping on the floor or he looked somewhat of the normal Robert Williams. It was in the air of whether or not Robert Williams would play, and then it was in the air of whether or not he would actually play well on the floor. That is where we're at with Kristaps Porzingis. Is not
Yeah.
only is he up in the air to play every game, he's up in the air to actually play well. So the whole KP situation, the illness is very confusing to me. I don't I just simply don't understand what's going on with it at all, and I don't understand how I don't understand how he was dealing with this in March and is dealing with it yet again. I just don't understand how that happens, especially knowing the fact he came back into the lineup and played well. But just now, the production, just how he's playing, it's it's rough for KP. It's absolutely rough. That being said, some of that trade value is already set, and I'm not necessarily concerned about that more so than I am concerned about just what do the Celtics do with him in Game 6? Does Joe Mazzulla actually put him out there in small stints the way he's been doing, or does Joe Mazzulla just abandon that whole plan? Because that's the big question of what happened in the second half. There is, did Kristaps Porzingis not play because of his minutes restriction and his health, or did Kristaps Porzingis not play because Joe Mazzulla actually abandoned the game plan of slotting in Kristaps Porzingis into the lineup anywhere? I think if Joe Mazzulla made that decision and not Kristaps Porzingis' health, we probably won't see Kristaps in Game 6, because up to this point, Andrew, we've talked about it and you touched on it here on this program already. It's just the trust in KP. There's no trust in KP that he's going to go out there and be a positive player for the Celtics, or a break even player for the Celtics. He is a negative player, unfortunately, for Boston right now, and the Celtics just cannot. Down 3-2 in this series, the Celtics we came in here talking. The Celtics still have a chance in this series, and they can't just sacrifice those chances to, oh, well, we're trying to play KP because we're paying him 30. We're paying him 30 million, and he's usually our starting center, and he's Porzingis, and it's like, no, don't look at the status, don't look at the contract, don't look at any of that nonsense. Look at who's playing well and who's not. And right now, Cornette's playing well, Horford's playing well. The whole lineup in Game 5 particularly played well. Kristaps Porzingis was the only player in the lineup in Game 5 that did not play particularly well. And we know why. It's the illness, but also just the fact it's been a theme of him this playoff run. And the Celtics, I don't think they can afford to just play around and experiment with Kristaps Porzingis in Game 6, a big Game 6 at MSG. David, I'm with you. I would not be surprised if we don't see Kristaps at all in Game 6, and maybe, just maybe, he's played his last minutes with the Boston Celtics. He's played his last game with the Boston Celtics. It's quite possible Kristaps Porzingis has already surpassed that point, because I'm just not certain we're going to see him in this series moving forward. If I were Joe Mazzulla, I mean, maybe I'd be looking to use him here and there, but just again, the trust is not there right now, and I don't know how that's alleviated other than just putting blind trust into Porzingis, because otherwise there's no data to suggest that Porzingis is going to be any better from here on out, whether it's with his play in this series, his production in this series, or even his durability later on down the line. And it's a little bit of another heartbreaking story within the Celtics organization. Although I will say Kristaps Porzingis, an NBA champion with the Celtics, can never take that away. However, despite winning championships and achieving great moments within any franchise, the ending is always going to be maybe a little wonky, a little ugly, and it feels like we're reaching that point with Kristaps Porzingis right now, where it's just a lot of confusion, a lot of wondering, a lot of just it's a lot of I don't even want to say uncharacteristic, but it's a lot of just it's a headache. It's quite frankly a headache with Kristaps
I'd agree.
Porzingis. That's a great way to put it.
It's a distraction in some ways, just to the entire team, to like the main focus.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, we have a goal to win, and there's a distraction to the team, like, and that's point blank simple. And like you said, they don't have time to experiment. When you're in the playoffs, you don't experiment. You do things that win you games that you've done every single game. That's what you tip your cap on, and you do that every single game. And we just don't have time to experiment. And especially when there's a chance, like you said, there is a legitimate chance, and we don't have time to do that.
I add?
You can't afford that.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off right there, but I want to add on to that, especially where it's right now for the Celtics, 1 game elimination. I mean, you lose a game and you're out. Like, okay, I get it, and you shouldn't play around with this in playoffs as it is. You had all regular season to play around with it, and you had all regular season to make those moves and stuff. But now it's a chess match. It's not, all right, this is a practice round. No, it's like, you guys lose on Friday, you guys are out. Like, that's what it is, plain and simple. You guys have to win 2 in a row in order to advance. So there's no playing around. And I'm going to act with this Boston Celtics team like we're still in it, because we are. The Boston Celtics are more than capable to still win this series. And you guys all know it. But I really quick wanted to put this out there too, because I made the graphic. I cooked really quick, but this is what Tatum said. He said, "Why me, Dad? Why does this have to happen to me?" Jayson Tatum messaged to his father. I wanted to pull that up just in quotes. And then I had this one. "I'm devastated. This injury will not define me, and I can't wait to be back in Celtics green to show you why." So Tatum has a lot of confidence. I know I switched it up really quick, but also showing this graphic as well. We showed this on yesterday's episode, but I want to hear more from Andrew and Daniel about the positivity, because Seamus already said it yesterday, and then we'll get ready to close this out, obviously, after these takes and talk a little bit more about the series. But we already talked about it a lot, David, Seamus, and I yesterday. But from your guys' perspective, do you guys think that Jayson Tatum can come back and be a healthy Jayson Tatum? Oh, where's that shirt? I had a good luck facing Jayson shirt on yesterday, and that's what vibes we left it off on. We left it off that he's going to be strong. He's going to come back, be positive. We also talked about the negatives too. But Andrew and Daniel, we'll start off with you, Andrew. Where do you think Tatum can build? Because this is, and we're going into the segment. Give it to us from the hoop side, because obviously you played some college basketball, and just that's a tough injury. And I watched a video on it. That tendon, it snaps, and you have to rebuild that tendon, which is a long and hard recovery. Andrew, give it to us from the basketball side.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that a positive to look at it is Jayson Tatum loves the game of basketball. It's evident in his work ethic. It's evident how he talks about it. It's evident how he dedicates his craft to it and stays away from the distractions off the court, So for someone to love that game so much, he's going to put his heart and soul into recovering. And so for Celtics fans out there, you have to think about that in a positive light, that he's going to give everything he has to come back from it. Also, he's 27. He is young. He has, there's an opportunity for him to recover from that. Maybe if he was an older player further in his career, we see that with players. It's a little tough to come back from those type of injuries. But Tatum's young, right? So he has the ability to recover probably faster than older athletes, older players. Another thing too, I think we've seen some players come back from these injuries and kind of elevate their game and kind of switch their game up. He's gonna have to adapt. Maybe he doesn't come back with the same exact explosion that he had. Maybe he doesn't come back with the same quickness, but maybe he develops some mean post game where he can really just play out of that post. He works on his footwork even more and just kind of dominates down in that area, and he can get kickouts. He can, create mismatches for the other team, which he already does. But I just mean there's opportunities for him to elevate his game, because he's going to be studying. He's going to be thinking about, what can I get better at? What can I do that I can make an immediate impact once I get back on the court, even if I'm not 100% or I'm not exactly where I want to be. So I think, look at it that way. Look at it as he's going to come back stronger. He's going to face a mental task. He's going to face something that, you don't want anyone to go through, but inevitably there's two ways to go, but hopefully it hardens his mind. It makes him stronger mentally. It gives him that, and it also gives him even more love for the game, that he dedicates even more time, because he realizes, I don't have it, and I don't ever want to lose this again. How do I train better? How do I train harder? How do I fix what I'm wrong? And he has so much time because he's young to do that. So that's where it's at. He can put his head down and say, man, this sucks. Or he can look at it as a challenge, as a great chance to grow and really show that he's ready to continue to improve his game.
Yeah, well said. And I found the shirt. Good luck facing Jayson. I'm standing by that. That's what we're going to be going with when he makes his return too, because it's going to be the same thing. I look at this before you go, Daniel, too, and then I have a picture that Seamus wants to show off. I know he does. But I look at it from this point too. It's a hard recovery, but athletes can make it back and be as dominant as they were before. You look at Kevin Durant, he had a different style, and David said this yesterday. Go check out episode 38. I'm not even going to say anything. Just go check out episode 38. You got to watch it. But we'll hear Daniel's takes and then final segment. What are your thoughts on it, Daniel?
Yeah, I think it's just another obstacle for him to face, and for him to overcome. And Tatum is a player who um has been through a lot of difficulties, a lot of struggles in his life. Not injury wise, but I just want to name some struggles that he's faced. He was raised by his mother. Didn't have a father in his life. And he now also is a single father. And those are two obstacles that he has had to overcome to get to where he is today. And this injury is just another one of those obstacles where he has to face and overcome to overall be a better player. I think, yeah, I did some research on this because I was just curious to see which other athletes have faced the same injury and have come back even better. The first name I found was Kevin Durant. He tore his Achilles in the 2019 NBA Finals. Eventually returned and was much better offensively. And he reached his bag, and he was better post injury than some would say he was in the previous season before his injury. So Kevin Durant is one of those names of people who came back and had a much better season. Dominique Wilkins is another name I didn't expect to be on here, but he also tore his Achilles in 1992 at 32 years old. So at the age of 32, he tore his Achilles. And usually for someone at that age, you have to face the conversation of it being over for you, right? Because of your age. But he eventually came back from it. He wanted to keep playing, and he averaged 30 points.
Wow.
30 points per game this season after his injury, which is very impressive and much higher than what he averaged before the injury. So yeah, I just want to just mention those two players and just kind of say that Tatum's age plays a big factor in this because if it's anybody older than that, once again, you have to face the conversation that it might be over for you. But for someone of Tatum's legacy and status and age, I think he can definitely come back from this much stronger. Tatum is already a wonderful player. Already he's leading his team in every stat season after season. So I think it's going to be good to see him come back and continue to do that. Continue to lead his team. Um, but yeah, I think he's going to come back stronger from it. I think he sees this as just another obstacle, like I said, and he's known for thriving in these type of situations where everybody is kind of um waiting for him to come back, waiting for him to show up, and he eventually does. And yeah, it's going to be interesting for him to come back and be either the same player he was or be an even better player because he's a grinder. He's on that grind. He's good for situations like this where everybody the team needs him, which will eventually be the case next season once we're like closer to playoffs or something and we need those extra wins. It's going to be nice to see him come back and lead this team once again. He can come back from this. He can be a much better player than we've seen him be, which honestly, for someone of Tatum's status, I don't know if this is a good thing to say or not, but it's kind of hard. It's going to be hard for him to be even better than what he's been because he's an amazing player. We've seen that, but seeing him be an even better player than what he's already been, I think is going to be his next obstacle, and he's going to face that, and he's going to come back much better.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's why I pull it up because I'm saying good luck facing Jayson. It's the same. It's going to be the same motto. But Seamus, you put this in here, and you want to explain this one? You want to explain this one for everyone at home?
No, I mean, I just found it on Twitter. I mean, I apologize for the person who obviously made this sign and whoever took this picture because we don't have the hat tip on here. But this was, believe, it looks like before the game last night. I mean, it looks like people are filing into the arena, not leaving. So, I mean, it also looks like it's daylight outside. So only on the brink of death, or sorry, only on the brink of death can you feel the most alive. Obviously, that's the Celtics right now on the brink of elimination. I just love this sign. But yeah, I found it on Twitter last night. But I want to say something about the Jayson Tatum recovery real quick. I think something that we haven't touched a ton on during this program, maybe not so much during this program, just within the Celtics Talk Weekly program. It's just the mental aspect of Jayson Tatum's recovery from his Achilles tear. This is somebody in Jayson Tatum that's been a basketball junkie his entire life, all the way down to elementary school, maybe even before that. I mean, he has been somebody who is always poised on getting better, always poised on working on his craft and just playing basketball. I mean, again, he's a basketball junkie. He's known for, he was in the, what was he in? He was in, I believe, Jamal Crawford's summer league a couple of years ago, and he's very, he's very available during the summer when it comes to videos of him playing basketball, Jayson Tatum. And aside from that, obviously, just in the regular season, he's been one of the more durable players in the entire NBA since he came into the league all the way back in 2017. He's just been somebody where basketball, I understand these guys don't want to be defined by basketball, and there are many things off the court that define Jayson Tatum aside from basketball. But basketball is obviously a huge part of Jayson Tatum's life, and it's something that he enjoys. And I'm sure, I mean, the other night I was thinking, oh, I remember when he had that quote about being the guy, and it's kind of it's a heartbreaking thing to think back to that quote because it was just a game before. It was a game before he goes down with that terrible Achilles tear, and he's talking about being the guy and just what comes with it, and just being ready for that. And Jayson Tatum, we've talked about all season. He's your model superstar. He does everything right. He's consistent, and I was listening to Dante DiVincenzo and Duncan Robinson talk about NBA culture, and they were talking about how NBA cultures and cultures within locker rooms. It's basically just an extension of the team's best players. And certainly you could say Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, the culture the Celtics have right now, I mean, it's an extension of their work ethic and their ability to be out on the floor and produce for the Celtics. And not only that, but behind the scenes, work up to a level to get themselves to that point. And Jayson Tatum, he's just, again, he's that model superstar that has always been so honed into his craft within the game of basketball. And just what my point here with all this is, just he's going to be away from that for an entire year. And the mental aspect of that and the mental factors that go into play, I mean, it's going to be a tough journey for Jayson Tatum, because right now is the first time, today and yesterday, these are the first 2 days in over 10 years, over 20 years, where Jayson Tatum physically cannot play basketball. I mean, that's a hard thing when for nearly 2 decades, I mean, over 2 decades for Jayson Tatum, over 2 decades for sure. When you're able to play basketball every day and play the game you love and work on the game, work on the craft in which you love, and then one day it's all just taken away from you and you have to work your way back into that. I mean, that is a mental challenge. And I expect Jayson Tatum during this recovery, I mean, there's going to be moments of, depression. There's going to be moments of just not there's going to be moments within the process where Jayson Tatum is just, I mean, he's beside himself. He's probably he was beside himself the other night, but there's going to be struggles. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say Tatum's going to be strong and he's going to make his way through it, because we all know one day that day is going to come around in October of 2026 when Tatum comes back out onto the floor, and he's going to be working himself back to that point. He's going to be motivated, but there's going to be lows. I mean, there's going to be moments where he experiences a low within his rehab. Not saying he's going to be set back in his rehab or anything like that. I'm just saying, from the standpoint of playing basketball every day for the past 20 years and working on his craft, to now not being able to do that and needing to rehab an injury. I mean, that's a mental shock, and it's going to be it's definitely going to be a period for Jayson Tatum that is just going to challenge him more than so many things already probably have in his life. There's more challenges outside of the game of basketball, but rehabbing an injury, that's a major injury at that. I mean, his burst, his explosiveness, his verticality, his athleticism, I mean, it's all on the line with his rehab. I mean, and it's all up to Jayson Tatum on how he attacks that rehab and how hard he attacks that rehab. And I do believe Jayson Tatum will muster up the motivation to come back just potentially as good as he was. Maybe there's a little decline there within the burst and explosiveness from Jayson Tatum. However, I still believe Jayson Tatum is going to come back and be a pretty damn good basketball player for the Boston Celtics. I think he's going to have the motivation, but I just want to point out the mental aspect of coming back from that injury. I mean, it is just tough when you go from working on your craft every single day, something you love, to it just being all stripped away one day. And it's not only something that you think about from a standpoint of not having it anymore, it's also a physical thing. It's
Yeah.
talk to any older gentlemen out there, any guys in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. I mean, they'll tell you when you physically decline. I mean, that can play with your psyche as well. When you're just not physically able to do what you've known to be able to do for the past 20 plus years, or your prime of your career, when you're not able to do that anymore, whether you're a basketball player, just a normal person, there's definitely a mental toll that can be taken when their physicality is taken away from them. They can't walk, or they can't run, or they can't. I mean, it's going to be. This is what I just want to point out, is just it's going to be a tough mental challenge for Jayson Tatum, and that's why I also think it's important for the fan base and everybody out there to spread Jayson Tatum with love and support, because he's going to need it, no matter how many millions of dollars he has and all the great things he has within his life. When you go through a catastrophic injury like that, and you're in the midst of your prime of your career, and you're just ascending to that upper level, and then you're taken down a peg, and your physicality, your ability to walk and run and jump is taken away, like Jayson Tatum's was the other night. I mean, that is something that's going to take a mental toll on him. It's going to cause, I don't want to say Jayson Tatum's going to be depressed. I want to use a better word for it. It's going to be it's going to be a bit melancholy. I guess that's the synonym for depressed. I don't know. It's like it's just not going to be a great time for Jayson Tatum. I mean, it's not going to be a time he looks back on with great joy. He's going to probably appreciate the journey in which he's going to take when it's all said and done. But while he's in the meat of that journey, while he's in the midst of that journey, I mean, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. It's going to be there are going to be a lot of dark days within his recovery process and his rehab process. And that's why I just think it's important, again, for Jayson Tatum to be showered with as much love as humanly possible, because he right now, I think Jayson Tatum, he got a fair amount of unfair hate.
Yeah.
I should unfair amount, I should say, an unfair amount of hate throughout the season. But now I feel like it should be an unfair amount of love, just a boisterous, abundant amount of love for Jayson Tatum, because not having him out on the floor, I mean, that is just, to me, no matter if you're a hater of Jayson Tatum, or if you're a lover of Jayson Tatum, and not literally in that way, like maybe some pop stars are, but Jayson Tatum, you just have to feel for him. I mean, no matter who you are, when you're working on your craft, I mean, it could be, somebody who loves picking up garbage. It's like when they're not able to do it anymore, it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, that sucks. Like that is
And I'm
something
sure
that you never want to see happen to anybody on this planet of the earth. I mean, you never want to see that happen to anybody, much less somebody as beloved as Jayson Tatum is in the city of Boston. I think he's going to come back better from this injury, but I can't deny that he's going to go through some dark moments that, yeah, we don't know Jayson Tatum personally, but just from a social media perspective, or any ways that fans can get through to Tatum. I mean, it's important to show that support to Jayson Tatum right now through these times, because the mental aspect of his injury, I think it's something that people, they've talked about a little bit, but something that's not talked about too much in the grand scheme of his recovery process. But it's going to be something that makes or breaks his ability to come back. And again, I don't deny his ability in coming back, but and it's going to be a tough road. That's just what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andrew, go real quick.
Real quick, just another kind of positive note about his injury. Came across this on actually Reddit. KD and Dominic Wilkins both tore their right Achilles, and so did Tatum, and both of them came back to a high level. And that just means like Tatum's, dominant jumping. Like he jumps typically on his left leg for like dunks and layups and all that. So if that could give you a little more hope as well, where he doesn't really use his right leg as much for jumping. Yeah, maybe like 2-foot jumps and stuff like that, but use a lot of his left leg for jumping and dunking and attacking the rim.
You think
And
there's something to that where, it's like, okay, your right dominant leg, your foot, like I look at the injury, obviously oh man, what do they call it? The dorsiflex, right? Where the toes are pointing towards the knee.
Mhm.
That's what the medical term is for that motion we saw. We always see that with an Achilles injury, is where guys step back and take that wide step back. And again, it's called the Dorsey flex, where
Yeah. Heel
where your
drops.
toes are right.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if there's something to that. If the dominant foot, if it's used more, if it's used less. Sometimes things are used less, and then there's a lot of pressure put on something, and then all of a sudden, instead of it being warmed up, it just
That
snaps.
too. Yeah. So
hard
that
to
could be
say.
a good
It's hard
thing.
to
That
say.
could be a good thing where he's typically jumps off his left foot. So maybe it won't impact him as much.
Yeah, I want to say too, from my own personal experience, and this is going to be kind of touching the heart a little bit, but my grandfather passed away. That's why I kind of absence a while ago, but he was a big truck drive. He didn't drive trucks, but he went to work every single day. He was a working man, and he had a heart attack. And when that was taken away, it was really dark for him. So Jayson Tatum having it all, being able to go out there and being, I wouldn't say essentially healthy. He was dealing with that wrist, but feeling healthy, feeling ready to go back to back, winning 19, and then all being taken away in just a blink of an eye, and having to deal with this tough recovery. But I also like what Daniel said. I like how, Daniel, you mentioned kind of how what's it called? How he could study the game more, how he could look at different ways that he could affect his game and be like, all right, well, I could do this better. And study. I think for him, this is going to be a time where he is such a passionate basketball player. He's going to be working on other aspects of his game and watching film and watching, all right, I could do this better with my game. I could do this better with my game. When I get better, I'm going to jump. I'm going to use this for my jump shot. I think he has so much time now on his hands to develop his game, and that's why I think good luck facing Jayson. But I have one more question. So, David, if you wanted to give a little more on it while I try to get this graphic in here really quick, what are your thoughts after hearing all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all good points. Just trying to understand that it's bigger than basketball for Tatum. Everyone pretty much already just summed it up. Just understand the toll it's going to take mentally. I hope that, I hope he can come back better than ever. He's already getting an outpouring of support. I hope that continues. He's going to need it. I hope that it's going to be weird for everyone involved not to see Tatum on the court for the next year and a half. So, I hope the best for him. And, I hope, not to get too somber, that we're not looking at Jayson Tatum's career as a Celtic as a big what if he were to stay healthy and not have this happen to him. So, it's just a lot of, like I said yesterday, a lot more questions than answers. But, he's got a great support system with his family, his friends, his teammates, the fans. So we're all going to be behind him, definitely.
Yeah. So this comes to my last question really quick. Is the 2K curse real or fake? I have to pull this up because I've been seeing everything about it, and we need to bring this to the program. So it could be a yes or a no, or you give a little detailed answer. But sorry, I didn't mean to get rid of it so fast. But Jayson Tatum, 2K cover, goes down with an injury. You look at Kevin Garnett, 2K cover, goes down with an injury. You look at not having success or other people getting injured in the past. So you could just give a yes or a no or give a detailed answer. But Andrew, we'll start off with you. Is the 2K curse real?
No, but for some reason it does. It's weird at how the things do happen. Even like Madden with all that, like the cover athletes. I don't know.
Be the show. Yeah.
But I don't think so.
Daniel, what about you?
I don't think so either. I think it's an unfortunate coincidence. I think it's a massive coincidence, but I don't think it's a curse because you see other players having their best seasons when they're on the cover. Look at Luka Doncic. I think last season he was on the cover, and was it last season or 2 seasons ago?
2 seasons ago, yeah. I think it was the book last year, maybe
2020.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
2022
last year. So yeah, that season when Luka was on the cover, I think it was one of his best seasons, if I'm not mistaken. And there are a bunch of other players from previous years who've had their best years when they're on the cover. So I don't think it's a curse. I just think it's a unfortunate coincidence.
Yeah. David, what about you?
Yeah, I'm the same as Daniel. I don't think it's a curse. I just think it's a pure coincidence. But moving forward, I will. If another Celtics player in the future is on the 2K cover, I'm going to throw up in my mouth a little bit, just like I throw up in my mouth anytime these Celtics have a retirement ceremony game. I mean, you look at when we honored Tommy Heinsohn in 21, we lost that game at the Heat. That basically pushed us in the play-in for good that season. I don't even want to mention the Paul Pierce retirement game where LeBron and all his teammates right before he traded
Jordan
them.
Clarkson, he's like,
Right. We lost by like 40 in front of Paul Pierce honoring him. And then when we honored KG, we were playing the Mavericks. We were up 12 in that game, and Spencer Dinwiddie hits that game winner at the end. And it's like we just lost in devastating fashion. Oh, hey, we got to honor Kevin Garnett though. So yes, I am in the same boat where no, it's not a curse. It's just coincidence. But doesn't mean I'm looking forward to any of these instances potentially happening again in the future.
Yeah, Seamus, what about you? Oh, Andrew.
No, I was just gonna say, let's just say maybe that for the Celtics is because that 2K18 Kyrie got traded to the Celtics and then missed the postseason as well.
So I don't know.
The Celtics. Something with the Celtics.
Yeah. What about you, Seamus?
I feel like the coincidence is explainable, which to me, if it's explainable, is it even a coincidence? But if you look at who's on the 2K cover, they reward 2K covers to guys who have just had amazing seasons, right?
Yeah.
So naturally, I mean, if you have an amazing season, I know these guys, some of them have great longevity, and you expect a guy to have, 4 or 5 great seasons in a row. But sometimes the fact of the matter is you have a great season, and then afterwards you're just maybe not going to top the same magic. That happens a lot of the times in the NBA where a guy has a phenomenal one season, and then the next season maybe he's still an all-star, maybe he's still very good, but was it as magical as the year before? Was it as efficient as the year before? Is he putting up the same numbers? Injuries are always injuries are always going to play an effect and are always common in the NBA. I mean, I feel like every single player out there sustains an injury at least. I mean, the one player who throughout the majority of his career has been pretty void of major injuries has been LeBron James. But outside of LeBron James, I mean, you look at pretty well every single player out there, they sustained at least one injury in time that's taken them out, 20, 30 games. You think about Steph in 2019-20, he only plays 5 games that year. I mean, we're talking about Achilles tears, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant. So it happens. It happens where stars miss big chunks of time. And I think you're going to naturally have that in NBA history. And I think you're naturally going to have instances where if you see a player rewarded with a 2K cover, that means they just had a great season, or they've just had a great couple years, a slew of seasons. So from that standpoint, maybe the year in which they actually are on the 2K cover, maybe they take a step back, maybe they're injured, maybe it does the same magic. The same magic from before isn't exactly spawned within the sphere of that player. So I think it's kind of explainable. I think it's even more explainable when you look at the Madden covers, because NFL players, their careers are much shorter typically than NBA players, and just the stars, the longevity is not as it's not as robust in the NFL. So I think you see it more with the Madden covers, where you see, oh, a guy has a great season, and then it might be, a perfect example is Peyton Hillis all the way back in 2012 with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, he's on the Madden cover once, and he's probably one of the more random sports covers of all time. But he's on the Madden cover once, and let me try to pull this up for everybody to show. Here's the Xbox 360 Madden cover here. See this one? See, I mean, he has Peyton Hillis, one great season with the Browns here, but then does he ever have a great season in the NFL ever again? No, he doesn't, and he's on the cover for that one season, that one good season with the Browns, the one great season he had with the Browns. But you see that a lot in the NFL, where a running back, a wide receiver, they might have one great year, and then after that, it's like, oh, they kind of petered out. They never really reached that height again. The NBA, you could say some of the same. Sometimes, obviously, the stars have a little bit more longevity in the NBA, but I think there's an explainable factor there where 2K covers are rewarded to players who have already had good seasons or a good slew of seasons. And naturally, if you've already had a good couple of seasons or a good season, the next season or the next couple of seasons might not be as good. That's how contracts work too. Sometimes guys get paid for what they've already done. I mean, Drew Holiday is one of those players. Kevin Durant. I mean, their salaries are up here, yet their on court values down here. But you look at the value of their deals over time, and it's like, oh, they're actually getting paid for what they did in the past. That's kind of the same with the 2K Madden covers in my mind. Is their players are put on those covers for what they've done in the last couple of years, and it's not guaranteed that the next couple of years they're going to perform the same. I did want to mention this. This is aside from the 2K cover conversation. So apparently, Kristaps Porzingis. There was an update on. I mentioned earlier how it's like, oh, is Kristaps Porzingis? Was it a DNP? Was he just unhealthy? What was going on last night? So this is from Jared Weiss. Missoula explained that benching Porzingis was a decision made between the two of them at halftime. And he mentions he expects Porzingis to be available for game 6 on Friday. So, and Joe Mazzulla said after the game, I mean, he couldn't breathe. He was available if absolutely necessary. So, Joe Mazzulla obviously saying Kristaps Porzingis couldn't breathe, but he was available in that second half. However, Mazzulla and Kristaps Porzingis made the decision to cut him loose in that second half and not play him. So, I wonder if game 6, if it's somewhat the same. And I kind of read through I kind of read through the lines here with that statement. I don't think it was necessarily a decision between Missoula and Porzingis. I think it makes it look better if it's phrased like that, but I think it's simply Kristaps Porzingis was playing awfully, and Missoula pulled him from the lineup, and the report is, oh, it was both of them coming to an agreement, but no, I think it's simply, uh, Kristaps Porzingis, he's not healthy. He's not playing well. We're pulling him. There's no reason to have him out here. He's actually a negative for the team, and that's it. I will say some respect to Kristaps in all this. Where there's a lot of hate for Kristaps, thrashing towards Kristaps, but the one silver lining here is Kristaps, if he's actually not healthy and if he actually can't breathe, it is somewhat of a respectable point that he's trying to go out there and play, and he's trying to put his body on the line, and he's trying to sacrifice for the team. That should be mentioned in all of this, but the injury nonsense is very confusing. His production is certainly not there, and just from the objective standpoint, we have to mention that. But from the emotional standpoint, it's at least it's nice to see Kristaps Porzingis sacrificing for the team, although it's just not, it's unfortunately not working at this point in time. But I think Joe Mazzulla actually benched him in that second half, and I think that might signal for game 6. I wouldn't be surprised with some spot minutes from Porzingis, but I think the leash is going to be a lot shorter than 12 minutes. If he comes out 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes, however long, and plays the way he did in game 5, I think, it's done from there. If it's bad within the first 4 or 5 minutes, he's probably gone. And that's thinking about it, that's probably where the Celtics are going to go in that game. Is they're probably going to throw Porzingis in there a little bit, maybe a little bit, but then if it's bad right away, it's going to be abandon the plan immediately. If it's all right, you never know. You could see Porzingis play a little bit. It's not completely out of the realm of possibilities that Porzingis comes in and actually plays well. I mean, at some point he has to get over this illness, right? Like at some point, maybe it's game 6.
It's not no, and I gotta say this. I agree with your take right there. I feel like with Porzingis, I feel like no one gives him enough credit. I feel like we have been bashing him a lot, and we do have to look at the point out there. If he legit can't breathe and he's out there, still trying to give it his all, like that's the point we have to,
Yeah, there's two points there. There's one side, it's like, oh, it's respectable. He's going out there and trying to play with an upper respiratory illness, and maybe he can't breathe, and his body is compromised. It's respectable in that perspective. There's also another perspective of, well, regardless of whether or not he's going out there, the injury nonsense and the illnesses, and it's just from the perspective of production and availability, it's like, not getting the job done, but also respectable that he's trying to get the job done. So it's it's kind of like the balance in there of, okay, give respect where respect is due, but also you got to be objective about saying okay, well, even if you want to give respect and, he's sacrificing for the team, he's not producing, which is just bottom line in the NBA playoffs, unfortunately.
Is there a
Yeah.
chance Joe Mazzulla is actually saying the truth though? Because what if Porzingis is like, man, Tatum just got injured. We're trying to give everything that we have. I can't give that. I'm gonna sacrifice. I'm gonna say I can't go anymore to see what we like. I don't know. Maybe you could give that Porzingis the benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying it's the truth, but I know people. I know players. Sometimes they drop their egos and they're like, man, I'm injured. I'm not feeling well, and I want the better for the team. Is that what he did? I don't know, but you can't cut that out. You never know.
Yeah,
See, it's hard to say too whether that was done in words or in play, whether that was done
Right.
in actual conversations or just simply, maybe Joe Mazzulla saw his and went, you can come to that conclusion. Be honest.
Yeah, it's
KP.
tough. Yeah, we don't have the answers to it all, but
Yeah.
there's a potential he did that as well.
And it sucks because I even said going into this series, I thought one of the biggest hitters for the Celtics if they come out with this series is Porzingis. Like he was, I thought, one of the X factors, and you saw him not stepping up to the occasion, and you see how much that has affected Boston. I mean, we talk about this too. We talk about sloppy rebounds not commanded on the offensive on the glass. And that's really what killed the Celtics in this series. But again, one game at a time. But to answer, to have my answer to the 2K curse, I think it's just a coincidence. I think it's I agree. I think it's a little, you could have all those conspiracies, but because I'm very superstitious, so I'm shocked I didn't even think that. But this will bring us to our last segment of the podcast, final thoughts. But I just saw this and I had to throw that up there because, this is the man that's going to be leading the show. This is the man that we all got to have our trust in. And again, I'll pull up this one as well that Seamus had put in there. Superman. There.
Full extension. That's crazy.
Look at that. Yeah, but what are your guys' final thoughts going into Game 6 and having the opportunity to push this to a Game 7 and to potentially even beat the Knicks? I mean, I think that should be a talk in the air because, the Boston Celtics, they can do this. I mean, I put this up too, and I was going to wait till the end, but believe in Boston. And you see Torrey Craig over there with that Tatum sleeve. Another question, do you guys think the whole Celtics team should wear that tomorrow's game? Just believe in Boston. It could totally happen, but what are your guys' final thoughts, Andrew? We'll start off with you. Let's hear it.
Yeah, they need to play like they played yesterday with intensity, with grit, toughness, crash to the boards, moving the ball, playing as a team. If they do that, I personally think they are a better team and they can win. And if we can win that game in New York, we're putting a whole lot of pressure on the Knicks, man, coming back to the Garden. And they do not want to have that. So I still think the Knicks are the ones that have things to lose. So even tomorrow, there's still a little pressure on them because they have in the back of their mind, man, if we lose, oh no, we're going to TD Garden. We got to face all these fans, and it's going to be a tough look if we lose. So pressure's on the Knicks, and let's see what the Celtics can get done.
Daniel, before you go too, I talked to a Knicks fan who was like, the Knicks choke. I mean, because I was like, I was down in the dumps after that Tatum injury, and I'm like, oh, you guys might have won the series, and he's like, don't say that. He's like, seriously, don't say that. He's like, I don't want you to say that at all, and I said it. I'm just saying, I said it. But Daniel, what are your final thoughts going into Game 6 tomorrow? And wait, really quick, Andrew, do you think we should wear those? I'll pull it back up. Do you think we should wear that for Tatum? You saw Torrey Craig rep.
Hell yeah, that's sick. Whatever it takes, and I love it. I love it. Just if it's on your arm, you look down on it, you see that 0, gives you a little extra fire to have a good play. Why not? Whatever, just everything and anything that that we need to win. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Shows you what you're playing for. Daniel, what are your final thoughts going into Game 6 tomorrow?
I'll start with the armband. Yeah, I think definitely we should wear it. I think it could be used as a morale boost, as a chemistry boost within the team. It also could be used as a attribute boost, because you see these guys and their love for Tatum. They're all gonna go out there and give it their all because of Tatum. And I think even though Tatum's injury is once again unfortunate, I think it just brings the team more together, and we can see as a fan perspective where we all stand, where all the Celtics players stand with this injury, and how devastating it can be. I think the team is gonna try to win this one for Tatum, and those armbands definitely help, because it just shows more of how much this team loves Tatum, how much Tatum means to this team. So yeah, I think the armbands are an amazing idea. I think we should definitely do it. Something different that we saw in Game 5, which I don't know if someone else mentioned, but Missoula finally changed something in that game. We're finally seeing Brown and other players drive more into the paint, get more into the paint instead of just trusting threes. I think I don't know how much I've stressed this throughout the series. We need to get into the paint. Obviously, we're a live by the three, die by the three team, and to win this series, we need to step away from that just a little bit. Obviously, if we're hitting 20, 25 threes in a game, obviously that's good for us. But it doesn't necessarily always guarantee a win, especially if we aren't hitting those threes. And something different we did that game is we're seeing us. I think someone else mentioned at the beginning. I don't remember who, but we're seeing Brown drive more into the paint, be more aggressive in the paint, which is where he belongs. It's his strength. We need to see that from the rest of the team, and if we do, I think we're looking at another win tomorrow. So yeah, get to the paint, use Luke Cornett when we need him. Al is going to be a big piece as well, and just let JB and White do what they do best.
Yeah, David, what are your thoughts going into tomorrow? How you feeling?
I mean, I'm feeling optimistic. I don't know how you couldn't feel optimistic coming off of a near 30-point victory with your star player sidelined for the foreseeable future. The biggest thing for me is just expecting that first punch. I always write about this, where this is how series works. The team that lost the game prior is always going to come out swinging in the next game, and the next game is the toughest game because the next game is the next game on the schedule. And you know the Knicks are going to come in fired up. Obviously, like Seamus mentioned earlier, it was an embarrassing performance from them. They absolutely probably are embarrassed from their performance in Game 5. So that's a little bit of motivation for them. Motivation as well, closing out a game in front of your home crowd in the very loud and boisterous Madison Square Garden. So that's going to be tough as well. And just a little bit of redemption for them as well. I mean, yeah, the wheels kind of fell off at the end of last season, but I'm sure they're still pissed, even though, you know, a lot of their key contributors last year were injured, to the fact that they lost a Game 7 in the same second round last playoffs to the Indiana Pacers, where it wasn't really close after an early back and forth. So there's just a lot of things going for the Knicks right now. I mean, we're all feeling great about the Celtics, and I mean, I feel great too coming off that game. And you know, I think that there's absolutely a great chance that we can push this to a Game 7, given how well we have been on the road all season. I mean, granted, the playoffs is a different animal on the road, but we have the nickname Road Dogs for a reason. We were 33-8 during the season on the road. So we've also taken a game already on the road this series. So we know what it takes to win in Madison Square Garden in front of that hostile environment. So really just how do we respond to these punches that are coming? That's what I always say, but that's just going to be the biggest thing for me, is knowing that New York's going to punch right away. How do we make sure that this game doesn't get away from us before it's too late, especially when we're on the road? And, you know, this is the biggest game of the season, and just hope that, you know, we can repeat the performance of guys like Jaylen Brown and Derek White. We're going to need it. So it's exactly, there you go. Love the Jaylen Brown, repping Jaylen Brown there.
Represent.
So that's just what it's going to come down to, is who wants it more, how we respond to the punches, and yeah, it's not going to be easy. But the Celtics, the theme of the season for the Celtics has been adversity, so another challenge in the road to maybe another championship, or at least just winning this round. Let's stick with that first. But yeah, it's gonna be fun tomorrow.
I gotta say, we gotta quote Franco right here. The Boston Celtics do love their Marriott hotels. They really do. They really do. They like that atmosphere.
So, like the Bond boy points, as he
yes,
said.
they do. Yes, they do.
Right.
Seamus, what about you though?
Well, game 6 is a highly pressurized situation for the Knicks because everything is, I mean, David, you just said it, everything is going towards the Knicks right now. I mean, you have home court advantage in this series if you're the Knicks. If you win all your home games from here on out, which is only that one game 6 coming up on the horizon, you win this series if you're the Knicks, and obviously no Jayson Tatum in the lineup, and just the series has gone sideways for the Celtics in many different ways. And now, if the Knicks blow this, I mean, that is going to be we talk about catastrophic sports memories with the Jayson Tatum injury and what happened in game 4. If the Knicks were to go down in 7 games in this series, that would be embarrassing. And what happened last night was embarrassing for the Knicks. And that's why we're on high alert for the rest of the series and even in this game 6, obviously, one game at a time for the Celtics, but that's why we're on high alert. Is the Knicks last night, they came out with a chance to close out the series, and the Celtics dominated. And the Celtics have dominated for a majority of this series outside of the fourth quarter. So, like, literally looking at the entire series, the Celtics have dominated almost each and every quarter outside of the fourth. Last night, the Celtics finally win the fourth quarter and win the game by 25. But in game 6, I mean, it's going to be about rebounding. It's going to be about playing a gritty style of game. And then offensively, it's just about finding flow and rhythm on that end of the floor, not letting the shot chucking and bad decision making overcome the Celtics as it did in games 1, 2, and 4 during this series. But obviously, the Celtics, they're dealing with a much different look. There's no Jayson Tatum in the lineup. I think there's more of a motivation to play well from the Celtics standpoint now. Obviously, just backs up against the wall. If you lose another game, you're out. But now Jayson Tatum's out of the lineup. It almost feels like, man, if we, were able to reconcile this series a little bit earlier, Jayson Tatum might not have torn his Achilles at the end of game 4 after going for 42 points. If we were in a better position in game 4, maybe we were up 2-1 at that point. Jayson Tatum maybe doesn't tear his Achilles from needing to go out there and I will say Jayson Tatum, he scored 42 points on super efficient shooting, but it was just the all-around game from Jayson Tatum. I mean, he was trying super hard on the defensive end of the floor. So it's not only his offensive load, but his defensive load as well. Maybe that doesn't happen to Tatum if the Celtics win one of the first 2 games and in that game 4 isn't as pressurized as it is, and Tatum doesn't go as hard as he did in that game. You never know. And it just feels like the Celtics now, they're playing loose. They're playing comfortable. Last night it felt like, I mean, if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. It was kind of like, okay, if we lose, we understood the season was spiraling down the drain after game 4, but obviously now the Celtics win and there's some hope. I mean, there's some legitimate hope now because it's a one game at a time scenario. It's the same approach every single game in the playoffs. That's why, I mean, especially for a team who's won a championship and has been there before in tough battles and been on both sides of tough battles, the wins and losses. I mean, for this team, it's the same approach every single game. It's just the next game we're trying to win. So this game 6, and I'm not even looking at game 7 right now. It's just about if you win this game 6, I mean, game 7, it's all bets off. It's a 50-50. And, even though the Celtics will have 2 wins in a row, if they get to that point, the Knicks, they're still going to have a good chance in game 7 as well, even if the Celtics do push it there. We saw in 2023, Miami, obviously Tatum goes down with his ankle injury. And, that was the most catastrophic Tatum injury up to that point, is just, oh no, he missed game 7. Oh, he missed that ankle injury in 2023. But now it's like, okay, maybe that looks a very mild compared to what just happened to Jayson Tatum. I'll say that. But, obviously the Celtics, they come back in that series and blow game 7, and Tatum's ankle certainly has something to do with that. But just in general, this series, it's a one game at a time scenario, and the Celtics, they just have to go out there and do what they did well in game 5. They move the ball around. They have to add more action on the offensive end of the floor, a lot more cutting, a lot more slipping to the rim, a lot more off ball action. I mean, it's always just annoyed me how much off ball action the Celtics don't have compared to some other teams. But You'll see it that here and there every once in a while, and we saw it come out more in Game 5. We need more of that in Game 6. I think the rebounding category is just so important. If the Knicks are just murdering the Celtics on the offensive glass, that's when you see the Celtics really getting themselves into trouble, especially in that Game 4 when the Celtics take 13 less shots than the Knicks. That's something that turned around in Game 5 is the Celtics took more shots than the Knicks in Game 5. In Game 4, they took 13 less. So just the amount of opportunities the Celtics have to put the advantage in their own hands within a game 6 scenario on the road. And I just think the Celtics have to continuously play freely and just motivated. I think those are the two words because the Knicks, they're going to feel pressure. And despite what the situations are right now, the Knicks up 3-2, Celtics no Jayson Tatum. So the Celtics are still a very good team and they're still able to execute their style of play. Like I mentioned earlier in the program, the Celtics aren't a team that they're just going to fall because they're superstars out. I mean, they have another superstar in Jaylen Brown to come in and play a similar role and produce at a similar level. I mean, we saw last night from JB a near triple double, as you mentioned earlier, David, in this program. JB is going to be able to come in and produce just as well as Jayson Tatum did, and the Celtics are going to maintain somewhat of the same style of play. And now I just think the team is a little bit more motivated than they've been, and I think they're playing a little bit more free with pressure off of them, knowing okay, it feels like we've already gone through the moment where they've blown this series, but yet the series isn't over. I mean, it's amazing we're still sitting here talking about the series because it felt like it was over, 3 days ago.
Yeah.
But the Celtics still very much have a chance in this game 6, and we've seen some magic happen before in the NBA playoffs. And I do want to bring up just to close off the program here, Griffin. Today, May 15th, 2025, the 8-year anniversary of Kelly Olynyk going for 26 points in Game 7 of the 2017 Eastern Conference semifinals against the Washington Wizards, as well as the 3-year anniversary of Grant Williams going for 27 points in Game 7 of the 2022 Eastern Conference semifinals against the Milwaukee Bucks. So we have those two moments to commemorate those two moments. We have Kelly Olynyk back in 2017 Game 7 goes for 26 points. Just an unprecedented performance by Kelly Olynyk that night. Kelly Olynyk had been a great bench player for the Celtics all season long, but he comes into that Game 7 and there is just a different spark. There's a different level of play within Kelly Olynyk. In the fourth quarter, it just felt like Kelly Olynyk could not miss. On top of this too, the Washington Wizards, who nobody really remembers, but the Washington Wizards were very much the top rival of the Celtics at the back half of the 2010s. I mean, it was the Wizards and the Celtics. It felt like, oh, the Wizards and the Celtics. Who's going to take the crown from LeBron? Who's going to take the East if it's not LeBron? Right? They were in that pile of teams competing with LeBron and the Cavaliers in the back half of the 2010s. But this rivalry, I mean, it pretty much ended on this night, and it ended with a Celtics victory. And this came too after in game, I believe, 3 of the series, Kelly Oubre shoves Kelly Olynyk to the ground. So a little Kelly on Kelly action there, a Kelly battle. And so Oubre pushes down Olynyk in game 3. And then in game 7, while Olynyk is going off for 26 points and is saving the game and dominating the Wizards defense, what was so funny is TNT, they kept panning back to Kelly Oubre just sitting on the bench. It was Kelly Olynyk 3, and then bam, a pan to the bench. Kelly Oubre just sitting there. But that was somehow, some way, 8 years ago today, May 15th, 2017. 8 years ago, Kelly Olynyk saves the Boston Celtics in Game 7 of the 2017 Eastern Conference semifinals against the Wizards. But then just a couple of years later, 3 years ago today as well, May 15th, 2022, Grant Williams. He saves the Celtics in Game 7 against the Milwaukee Bucks, scoring 27 points. And you see here throwing up those classic threes, and then Tatum in the background taking a shot. And Grant Williams, I mean, look, this is quite the picture right here. I'm guessing Grant Williams dishing one off to Tatum and then just running down the court. I mean, running down the court like Curry with confidence in his teammates. And again, this is Grant Williams. And this was a big moment. I mean, Grant Williams, he was in his first year. Grant Williams was a solid rookie in 2019-20, and then in 2021, Grant Williams has a just hellacious second year slump, a sophomore slump, and he's just not as good in 2021. And to me, there are multiple factors in that: the lineup consistency with the Celtics, the fact there were no fans, just the fact of the season being the shortened off season from before, the Celtics coming back from the bubble into the next season. The Celtics were eliminated in September. They were eliminated from the playoffs in the bubble in September. They came back in Christmas of 2020 for that 2020-21 season. Grant Williams just doesn't have a good year. People are asking for him to be traded. People want him cut. They want him waived. They think Grant Williams isn't this, isn't that. And then a year later, Grant Williams saves us in Game 7 against the Milwaukee Bucks in 2022, and that was certainly a moment. I was a Grant Williams defender in 2021, and I got a lot of hate for it. But once this game happened in 2022, which is just unbelievably 3 years ago, a lot of apologies in the DMs. I will say people came through with the apologies. Let the apologies be as loud as your disrespect was. And I gotta say, our fan base, I mean, the apologies are usually just as loud, and they certainly were for Grant Williams on this day. But I still can't believe I still can't believe 3 years ago today, Grant Williams comes up with this moment in Game 7 of the 2022 Eastern Conference Semifinals against the Milwaukee Bucks. Those were quite the moments. I mean, those two players, Grant Williams and Kelly Olynyk, basic sixth men for the Celtics. You could say seventh, eighth men. That's how deep the Celtics were back then. I mean, a little bit larger of a rotation for the Celtics, but both of those guys come in and save two different Game 7s, 5 years apart, and just unprecedented events that, again, we'll look back on with, just great, great. A lot of fond memories from those playoff runs in general. In those days, especially where we're at now with the Celtics team, down 3-2 to the Knicks, and Tatum just went out for the foreseeable future. You definitely in history start appreciating moments like the Kelly Olynyk Game 7 and the Grant Williams Game 7 a lot more, knowing those things are never quite given, and when they happen, they're extraordinarily special. And you see that in the fact that we're commemorating these moments now, 8 years later and 3 years later. I mean, it's just amazing we've been able to live through that as Celtics fans, and I want to live through that again. You never know. Game 7, Luke Cornett just came through in Game 5. Can we get who in Game 7 would save us this time? No.
No, I don't know.
No. He has to get minutes first. I mean, I'm looking at like a Pritchard or like a Drew Holiday, or like a Derek White. Like, who's gonna save us in Game 7?
Or Porzingis.
Hauser is a great candidate. No, Hauser is probably the prime candidate to save us in Game 7 this year.
I agree.
Hauser,
he's getting
He's
figuring it out. He's finding his shot. Yeah,
I got a hot one.
Or JD.
Torrey Craig.
JD.
Can we give it to Torrey Craig? You in Boston? Give it to Torrey Craig.
I hate to say it. That is like that picture right there is about as much like that picture is the most that Torrey Craig has done in Boston, like this entire playoff run. Like, I don't like, it's like great. I have a great picture of me with the Tatum armband, which I'm thinking that Tatum armband, it used to be the Kobe armband. That's why Tatum wears it that way. But now it's kind of just becoming Tatum's thing. I feel like it's kind of just the Tatum thing now. It's like, oh, Tatum kind of took a Kobe thing.
Well,
other than his jumper and his style of play. I mean, it's took his literal style.
Yeah, we'll pull it up one more time. Believe in Boston. I mean, we gotta say it. We gotta mention it. The Boston Celtics going into Game 6, like you just said, Seamus. Can we have one of those memorable Game 7s? Can we keep the fun going? Can we keep this season going? Can we enjoy Drew Holiday and Porzingis? Obviously, Porzingis probably maybe not even playing the next game, but can we enjoy what we have? Because I've taken it for granted. I didn't want to hit in my head that this might be our last game with Drew Holiday, Porzingis, but can we love what we have? Let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy it. I'm feeling great going into Game 6 and one game at a time, but I'm going to throw this back up for positive vibes. Good luck facing Jayson. We're going to live and die by that.
Why not the C's, baby? Why not the C's?
We're going to live and die by it. But again, I think that's going to close out the show. But we will see you guys tomorrow after the game for the recap and post-game show over on Celtics Talk Weekly, recap on Celtics Nation Rise. And again, keep the positive vibes going. We will see you guys soon with episode 40. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go check out episode 38 to go hear our initial thoughts on Tatum going down and that whole situation. So go check that out. Thank you guys again so much for watching. We will see you guys soon. Peace, guys.